Hello boys and girls and welcome to Education Station. And in today's lesson we're going to be focusing on how to simplify fractions. But before we get started with simplifying fractions, we're first going to look at a couple of words you need to know and understand for today's lesson. You might have been exposed to these words before, but we're going to look at factors, and we're going to look at the word simplify, and we're also going to look at the word highest common factor and what that means. So let's start off with our first word, which is what our topic is today, and that is to simplify fractions. So boys and girls, to simplify simply means to make smaller. Now we're talking about maths here. So in a mathematical sense, we want to make something smaller. In the case of fractions, we want to make the fraction, which is the numerator and the denominator, as small as possible. So we have a fraction. Therefore, you have to do the numerator and denominator together as one. The second thing is that the mathematical operation we use to simplify is, now let's see if you can remember. You're correct. It is division. We use division when simplifying to make the fraction smaller. Now, there are a couple of tips you can remember or need to remember. And the first one is you are simplifying a fraction as a whole. So it's part of a whole or one thing, as I've already mentioned. So you must simplify the numerator and denominator together. You cannot simplify only one of the two. Now, your teacher would probably have said the following words. What you do to the top, you must do to the bottom. And you have to apply that every time you are simplifying. The second tip you can remember is if you can't remember how to calculate the highest common factor, then you start with the smallest factor. Now we know one will be able to divide into all the numbers you're working with, but then the fraction isn't going to change. So you work yourself through the number line. So you'll go to 2, 3, etc. and work your way up through them until both the numerator and denominator have been divided together and are in their simplest form. So let's go to our next word, and the next word is factors. So the definition of a factor is a number that can be divided into another number and that doesn't leave a remainder. So for example, let's take the number 18. The factors of 18 are 1 because 1 can divide into 18 equally. 18 can be divided by 2 without a remainder, it will be 9. 18 can be divided by 3 because it would be 6. 6 would therefore be a factor of 18, 9 as well as 18. So we can say that 18 is divisible by 6 because 18 divided by 6 equals 3 and there is no remainder. So boys and girls, therefore we're going to go to highest common factor, and the word you need to concentrate on here is common, which means the same. Now, the highest common factor is the highest factor that is common in two or more numbers. So, for example, let's calculate the highest common factor between 12 and 18. So, the factors of 12 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. And the factors of 18 will be 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, and 18. Now, there are a couple of factors that are the same, but we're looking for the highest common factor. Why the highest one? Because it makes the simplifying process so much easier. If you divide by the highest common factor, then you're only going to have to simplify once. But if you can't remember and cannot identify the highest common one, then you're going to work through, as I've said, those numbers until you get to the simplest form. So we can see there that there are factors that are the same, but 6 in red is definitely the highest common factor between 12 and 18. So boys and girls, let's go and have a look at a couple of examples when we are simplifying. So the first example we're going to look at is 12/18. Let's draw ourselves a working out column. We're going to go and write down the factors of 12 and 18, and then we're going to find the highest common one. So 1 can go into 12, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. 18's factors are 1, 2, 3, 6 and 18. So let's see. 1's definitely the same. 2's the same. Is there anything else? Yes, 3 is the same. But if we look at those factors, 6 is definitely the highest common factor, and we're going to use that to simplify this fraction. So 12 divided by 6 and 18 divided by 6 equals, so 12 divided by 6 equals 2, 18 divided by 6 equals 3, and therefore we have found the simplest form of 12/18ths, and we know that those two fractions are equivalent. So let's look at the second example. 5 over 15, or 5/15ths, and we're going to find the factors of 5, and we're going to find the factors of 15. So 5 is divisible by 1 and 5, it's a prime factor, and therefore 15 can be divided by 1, 3, 5, and 15. And to check yourself, we can do factor pairs, 1 and 15, and 3 and 5, yes. So 1 is the same, we know, but 5 seems to be the highest common factor in this case, because you cannot have 3 because it's not part of the factors of 5. So the highest common factor is 5. We're now going to take that 5 and divide 5 by 5 and 15 by 5, because whatever you do to the top, you must do to the bottom. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 15 divided by 5 is 3. And the simplest form is 1/3. So let's look at our next example. We're going to look at 14 over 21. So we're just going to draw a working out column. So 14 and 21. Let's write down the factors of them. So 1 will divide, yes. 2 can divide into 14, 7 and 14. The factors of 21 are 1, 3, 7, yes, as well as 21. So let's go and look at them. Which one would be the highest common factor? So 1, yes. 2 is definitely not going to work because 3 either, and therefore 7 will be the highest common factor that we're going to use to simplify this fraction. So let's say 14 divided by 7 and 21 divided by 7. 14 divided by 7 equals 2, and 21 divided by 7 equals 3, and therefore that is its simplest form. So let's do a last example where we're not going to use the highest common factor, and we're going to see if this works if we just simplify. So 16 over 20. Let's go and write down the factors of 16 and 20. So the factors of 16 is 1, 2, 4, 8, and the last one is 16. Factors of 20 would be 1, 2, 4, can 5 go? Yes, 10, as well as 20. So let's go and look at the factors. 1, yeah, 1 will work, but it'll stay the same. So let's take 2 because this is common in both of them, and let's go and simplify. 16 divided by 2 and 20 divided by 2, because whatever you do to the top, you must do to the bottom, equals 8 over 10. But now we can see that 8 over 10 is still an even number, and we can divide that even further. It's not in its simplest form. So when we look at our factors, we now know that we've used 2. Can we go to the next one, which is 4? No, because 4 can't divide into 10. So we're just going to use 2 again. So let's write down 8 tenths. We say 8 divided by 2, 10 divided by 2 equals 4 over 5. And there we go. Now I have simplified 8 tenths into its simplest form, which is 4 over 5. We also know now that 4/5 is equivalent to 8 tenths as well as 16 20ths. So boys and girls, that's our lesson for today. Thank you for joining us, and I look forward to speaking to you again in the next lesson. Have a great day.